Happy holy day, peacemakers. Welcome to branch temple number 24 of the Moorish Science Temple of America. We are a global branch temple of the Moorish Science Temple of America, where we teach our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may learn to love instead of hate. Come join us and link yourself with the family of nations by clicking that block of words at the top that says World Temple. We're going to get started here today with our divine supplication and continuing on our monetary policy, which has been pretty extensive. We also have a banking section that we're gonna get into here, a part of this series as well, and that'll be the wrap up. That's how we're gonna close out this monetary series that we've been in for these past couple of weeks here. Hope everyone's enjoying the holiday. First thing first, I want to give honors to the divine creator, Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, the source, El Kalam. I want to give honors to the prophet, Noble Ali. I want to give honors to the forerunner of the prophet, Honorable Marcus Garvey. I want to give honors to those that came after the prophet, such as Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and many, many others, such as C.M. Bey, H.I.M Bey, and the master teacher, Dr. Malachi Z. York-El, Clarence 13X, and Malcolm X, many others that came and paved the way and added their portion to the divine and national movement. And with that, we're going to jump right into our divine supplication today. And I'm going to share the room. Hope everyone's enjoying their Friday. So we're going to get the space shared here real quick. Share it out to anyone that want to join. And we're gonna get it started for this week. Like I said, I hope everyone's enjoying their Friday with family, friends, etc. I want to share the room, make sure we get it out to our regular social media platforms, so that way they know that we are here live at 5. Continuing on with the work at hand, and they should feel free to join us. All right. So we're going to open up tonight with our divine supplication. And we are starting early. I'm not sure. Trying to get Clubhouse to work on that too as well. Fix the time, because we're really supposed to be opening up at 6 o'clock, which is still okay, because that's within the mental reservoir time. And us being able to open up and tap in with the ancestors. So nonetheless, we're going to get it started here with our divine supplication. And one last thing, I want to pin the link at the top of the room. That way you guys could join us on YouTube. Got a lot of great information that we put on our YouTube as well. So let me pin the link, and then we can get started here. With our divine supplication. All right, y'all. So y'all know how we do. Begin our prayers and thinking by using the all O Heavenly One, the Most High, who is sustainer of all the worlds, we do accept the duty you have laid on us to clean up the filth made by the West and its non-Semitic fools. O my sustainer, we beseech you to keep your hand over us to control the streams of the courses of our lives. Our sustainer, and if we do wrong, please show our divine blessings and forgiveness on us. You are the only one that can raise us, true followers of the news bearers, and in thy name, we carry on. All right, y'all. So we're going to jump into our 19 affirmations here next. And open up the family guide. These 19 affirmations are very, very, very powerful, especially as a reminder and guiding points to navigate on this earth and in life in general. So first thing first, the 19 affirmations are called what we accept as fact, the daily affirmation of loyalty of the children of Elohim. And as they state, we accept as fact the eternal laws of nature as revealed through science, past events, logic, and common sense, revealed as right knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. We accept as fact the highest laws of nature is the cooperation and harmony of all living things. We accept as fact our way of life as a means to the best end. We accept as fact that loyalty is the greatest of all honors and treason is the worst of all crimes. We accept as fact that what is good for the Holy Tabernacle is the highest virtue, and what is bad for the Holy Tabernacle is the ultimate evil. We accept as fact that the Holy Tabernacle is the finest and noblest organization for all humanity created by circumstances, and the ancient and mystic order of Melchizedek is the noblest of fraternities on and above this planet. We accept as fact that creativity, love, and cooperation are the essence of success. We accept as fact that truth and facts are always and has always been the originator and creator of all success. We accept as fact that all worthwhile civilizations, cultures, and civilizations came about from the ancient Sumerians and Kamite Egyptians, and the Anunnaki or Elohims from the heavens, without which there would be none. We accept as fact that for the Holy Tabernacle to survive, expand, and advance, we need first of all a revolution of values and thoughts, which must start within each person by being truthful with themselves and about themselves. Therefore, we completely and categorically reject all myths, fictions, religions, and lies that have not been proven. That would include your heavens, your hells, your hellfire and brimstone, your horned pitchfork devils, your winged angels, and your old man God character sitting on the throne up there somewhere. We deal strictly with facts. If you can't prove it, we don't want to hear it. That doesn't mean we won't listen to you. Just don't expect us to accept your beliefs by virtue of a title such as Reverend, Pastor, Deacon, Imam, Sheik, Rabbi, Minister, Theologian, etc. That is your sensationalism, man. We deal with just the facts. We accept this fact that the only true revolution is a war of good against evil, right against wrong, fairness against unfairness, loyalty against disloyalty, sincerity against insincerity, honesty against dishonesty. And this war is fought within each person among the agreeable and disagreeable Elohims that make up your willpower. We accept this fact that the unity of our community and its success will only happen with cooperation with all involved. We accept this fact the total unification of all humanity on the basis of truth. That is, accepting people and races for who and what they are, respecting their culture, their languages, and their beliefs, and expect the same. We accept this fact that the human race, its biological and cultural heritage, is now under attack by our own morals, our self-righteousness, our desire to control industry, and these things attack the very existence of humanity. We accept this fact that males as well as females are equal in all things and should be dealt with as partners in all matters. We accept this fact that no one race of people is better than the other. In fact, no one wins the race in racism. We accept this fact that communication between different people is the cure to the ignorance that breeds the disease hate. We accept this fact that a good and well-rounded education could prevent most of the ignorance that plagues the world. We accept this fact that the all is just that, the all. You can't take from the all, you can't add to the all. We are all within the all as one. That is our concept of what you call a deity. To the fulfillment of these facts, we children of the Elohim forever pledge our lives, our sacred honor, and our spiritual zeal. All right, y'all. So we're going to open up with the divine constitution and bylaws and our Moorish prayer, and complete the opening with our weekly reading of the Circle 7 Holy Qur'an, chapter 25, 47, and 48. So y'all know how it goes. 2 fingers up, 5 fingers up, facing the east. Feet at a 45-degree angle. Your feet at a 45-degree angle. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Noble Ali. Amen. All right, y'all, so we're going to jump right into the Divine Constitution. As it reads, Act 1. The Grand Sheik and the Chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Assistant Grand Sheik is to assist the Grand Sheik in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And it is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No members to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because the law is love. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are a part and parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. This organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and parcel of the said government, and know that they are not Negroes, color folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Ali, through the guidance of his Father God Allah. Islam. All right, y'all. So we're going to jump right into the divine the Circle 7. We just read from the Divine Constitution and Bylaws, so we're going to move right along to the Holy Quran Circle 7 and start with chapter 25, which is the precursor for all intense actions and behaviors of Moorish people. So we're going to touch on some things today before we get started here today. We're going to touch on some things today concerning the monetary policy. And as we kind of move forward in the series, because we do got some more weight, some more distance to go in that way that we're traversing on as far as this spectrum of knowledge. So we're gonna go into some things today on that, but first we want to start with chapter 25 of the Holy Quran Circle 7, so that way we can complete this opening for today. All right, so first thing first, chapter 25, called the Holy Covenant of the Asiatic Nation, as it reads, Ye are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother had given you suck. Let the bonds of affection therefore unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. If thy brother is in adversity, assist him. If thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race and his care be continued to you all in your love to each other. All right, y'all. So this is the precursor for all actions, intents, and behaviors of Moorish people. This is how we know you are of the Moorish people, because each species on this planet, they work in a conducive manner to keep that organism going, to keep that organism or species alive. So same thing here. When you get more down the taxonomy chart and you get into the whole concept of ethnicities and things like that, and you have today the whole thing about race science or scientific racism, things like that get kind of bunched up and thrown into a pot, when in actuality this is coming out of the science of taxonomy, biology, and other things like that. And those things have to be cleared up, and we have to get into the field, because that's also a part of the expression of a new logical way of thinking, is the study of systems, especially intelligent design, and the way the systems of the divine intelligence operate. And we know that there's a system to things. So with that, we're going to jump right into chapter 47 and chapter 48, y'all, so we can complete this opening for today. So we're going to kick it off with chapter 47 next, called Egypt, the Capital Empire of the Dominion of Africa. And as it reads, the inhabitants of Africa are the descendants of the ancient Canaanites from the land of Canaan. Old man Cush and his family are the first inhabitants of Africa who came from the land of Canaan. His father Ham and his family were second. Then came the word Ethiopia, which means the demarcation line of Amexem, of the dominion of Amexem, the first true and divine name of Africa, the dividing of the land between the father and the son. Okay. The dominion of Cush, northeast and southeast Africa, and northwest and southwest was his father's dominion of Africa. In later years, many of their brethren from Asia and the Holy Lands joined them. The Moabites from the land of Moab, who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit northwest Africa. They were the founders and are the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire, with their Canaanite, Hittite, and Amorite brethren who sovereign from the land of Canaan, seeking new homes. Their dominion and inhabitation extended from northeast and southwest Africa across Great Atlantis, even unto the present North, South, and Central America, and also Mexico and the Atlantis Islands, before the great earthquake which caused the Great Atlantic Ocean. The river Nile was dredged and made by the ancient pharaohs of Egypt in order to trade with the surrounding kingdoms. Also, the Niger River was dredged by the great pharaoh of Egypt in those ancient days for trade, and it extends eastward from the river Nile, westward across the Great Atlantic. It was used for trade and transportation. According to all true and divine records of the human race, there is no Negro, black, or colored race attached to the human family, because all the inhabitants of Africa were and are of the human race, descendants of the ancient Canaanite nation from the Holy Land of Canaan. What your ancient forefathers were, you are today without doubt or contradiction. There's no one who was able to change man from the descendant nature of his forefathers, unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator Allah himself. These holy and divine laws are from the prophet Noble Ali, the founder of the Uniting of the Moorish Science Temple of America. These laws are to be strictly preserved by the members of all the temples of the Moorish Science Temple of America, that they will learn to open their meeting and guide it according to the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Every subordinate temple of the Grand Major Temples to form under the covenant of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and create their own laws and customs in conjunction with the laws of the Prophet and the Grand Temple. I, the Prophet Noble Ali, was sent by the great God Allah to warn all Asiatics of America to repent from their sinful ways before that great and awful day that is sure to come. The time has come when every nation must worship under its own vine and fig tree, and every tongue must confess his own. Through sin and disobedience, every nation is suffered slavery due to the fact that they honor not the creed and principles of their forefathers. That is why the nationality of the Moors was taken away from them in 1774, and the word Negro, black in color, was given to the Asiatics of America who were of Moorish descent, because they honor not the principles of their forefathers. Because they honor not the principles of their mother and father, and strayed after the gods of Europe, of whom they knew nothing. So, right here, we see that it's telling us that it's time to get tied back into our own vine and fig tree. So what that means is we have to look at the knowledge that's been given to us, not from the standpoint of anyone else's lens and how they see our ancient culture and the things that came after. So Islamicism and pure Islamicism is about that ancient and divine creed that comes from our ancestors, our Moorish ancestors, unadulterated. So getting into these perspectives of the original prophecies, the teachings and cultures that came even before, like I mentioned last week, the pre-Islamic days, and the statutes of ancestors and things like that, and remembering their portion or contribution into what we understand as Islam and its culture and its cultural traditions. Because although, peace be upon him, Prophet Mustafa Muhammad Al-Amin played a big part in bringing pure Islamicism for the Quraysh tribe, because that's who it was given to. You got to remember, the Qur'aan was given to a specific tribe of people for a specific reason. And so getting outside of those things and in context, you miss a lot, not doing the due diligence. You miss a lot not getting into the research of the subject matter at hand and understanding who the Quraysh tribe of people were. They were Moorish people, a Nubian people, an Ethiopian-based people. They were a Mexim. They were those ancient Africans. Today, we refer to ourselves as Africans. During that time, it would have been something else. But culturally, ethnically, racially, by race, or just as a ethnicity, this is who we are as a people. And this is only a portion of who we are as a people. So getting into matters of telling someone who they are, as far as what their ethnicity is, we don't have to even go down that line, because Moors make up the blood of the whole entire globe. If we get into the pigmentation of things and the science of that, we understand that we are the original germ. So the scripture, or this gospel was handed down to the next tribe that was supposed to be the extension of the caliphship of the Hebraic culture. If you really, really understand that this is just a continuation of that Hebraic culture and teaching and knowledge and bloodline, an extension of Abraham, simply put, then you'll understand that this is the continuation of those cultures that came before that, such as Sumeria, such as Babylon, Akkad, etc. And that can get into Tartaria and Mu and Atlantis and all those other things too as well. And you even see the word Amexem and the word Atlantis mentioned throughout this text. So we don't want to get things confused with the ancient and divine creed of the Moorish Science Temple of America that's being taught with Orthodox Islam as people know it today, and the disassociation with what the prophet is putting in the Holy Quran, Circle 7, from what people understand as Orthodox Islam, and the message that the prophet was given to us through the Holy Quran, Circle 7. This is more of a wholesome, full-fold frame of thought and knowledge from the perspective of, tying ourselves back in what we call the ancient ones, and also, as I mentioned before here plenty of times, clearing up those years of what happened with Yahshua, and just the teachings and the mystic side of the teachings of Yahshua HaMashiach as well. So with that, we're going to jump right into chapter 48, called The End of Time and the Fulfilling of the Prophecies. And as it reads, the last prophet in these days is Noble Ali, who was divinely prepared in due time by Allah to redeem men from their sinful ways, and to warn them of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. John the Baptist was the forerunner of Jesus in those days, to warn and stir up the nation and prepare them to receive the divine creed which was to be taught by Jesus. In these modern days, there came a forerunner of Jesus who was divinely prepared by the great God of Allah, and his name is Marcus Garvey, who did teach and warn the nations of the earth to prepare to meet the coming prophet, who was to bring the divine creed of Islam, and his name is Noble Ali, who was prepared and sent to this earth by Allah to teach the old-time religion and the everlasting gospel to the sons of men, that every nation shall and must worship under their own vine and fig tree, and return to their own and be one with their Father God, Allah. The Moorish Science Temple of America is a lawfully chartered and incorporated organization. Any subordinate temple that desires to receive a charter, the Prophet has them to issue to every state throughout the United States, etc., that the world may hear and know the truth, that among the descendants of Africa there is still much wisdom to be learned in these days for the redemption of the sons of man, under love, true peace, freedom, and justice. We as a clean and pure nation descending from the inhabitants of Africa do not desire to amalgamate or marry into the families of the pale-skinned nations of Europe, neither serve the gods of their religion, because our forefathers are the true and divine founders of the first religious creed for the redemption and salvation of mankind on earth. Therefore, we are returning the church and Christianity back to the European nations, as it was prepared by their forefathers for their earthly salvation, while we, the Moorish Americans, are returning to Islam, which was founded by our forefathers for our earthly and divine salvation. The covenant of the great God Allah, honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be longer upon the earth land, which the Lord thy God Allah hath given thee. Come, all ye Asiatics of America, and hear the truth about your nationality and birthright, because you are not Negroes. Learn of your forefathers' ancient and divine creed, that you will learn to love instead of hate. We're trying to uplift fallen humanity. Come and link yourself with the family of nations. We honor all true and divine prophets. So, right there is affirming what I mentioned, and we're going to lead with that for tonight's series and continue where we left off last week. But the understanding that we as Moorish people, melanated indigenous people, understanding that the prophet left us with the clear message that he came to give us the gospel of the sons of man. So I want us to really think about that real quick, because the prophet is stating that we're giving the church and Christianity back to them. But the gospel, he wanted us to understand the gospel. He wanted us to understand. He wanted us to understand the gospel. And understand that the first religious creed came through us as a people, came through us indigenous people. and that old time religion. So today, you find the Catholic Church continuing that old time religion. And if you look into it, our ancestors were able to adapt to that just the same way we adapt to any other climate or environment. So, understanding that one culture or one language gives birth to another, and you end up extending the previous culture or creed or heritage down generations and time. The prophet is still letting it be known that he's come to give us the gospel. So that means there's a certain aspect of thinking that the Holy Quran Circle 7 prepares us for when we jump into the Bible per se, or else Holy Injiyl, the Torah, these lights that are in the Quran. We still read the Quran. Our purpose is still to know the Quran. That is a part of the gospel. That is a part of the revelation. And that revelation, as I mentioned here plenty of times before, you having a revealing every day, every minute, throughout the day. You're going through a revelation, a revelating moment every day. So with that, we're gonna jump into our link for the monetary policies. Get back into the history of money. So I'm gonna put that link in the chat here, so those that'll be coming back listening to the replays, y'all can keep up with what we're talking about here. All right, so last week we touched on the Indian subcontinent. We touched on some of the early Islamic contributions, which are very, very key here. And the series, and we went from 1000 BC all the way up to now, where we're up to the 1400s AD. So we went from 1000 BC on back, even further back, all the way up to now, your 1400s AD. So we really took a trip through time, through the source information that we're looking at here right now. And a lot of this stuff gets updated over time because, as you know, Wikipedia is more like an independent source, a reference source. But you also want to come and don't believe me, check it out, go and look and verify the information in other places. Especially the best place is offline. You know, get into these libraries. That's the best place to get this information, is in old texts and old books. And Google Books do have a lot of those old books that you can access that they made digital copies of. But most definitely, you want to get into a lot of the older texts that verifies a lot of this information. But first thing first, we're going to jump right into this section here from the 1450 through 1971 section, which brings us up to date to, closer to now, to where we are now. And this is getting into the getting into the goldsmiths and the bankers, or what they call goldsmiths bankers. So we're going to jump right into this section here and start to creep our way on up back into modern day of time. So you'll see where the origins of the monetary systems that we have, where they come from. And we still have our footprint there, going all the way back to ancient Africa, all the way up to today here in America. So this first section, called Goldsmith Bankers, it states goldsmiths in England had been craftsmen, bullion merchants, money changers, and money lenders since the 16th century. But they were not the first to act as financial intermediaries. In the early 17th century, the scriveneers, or scribes, who was a person who could read and write, or who wrote letters as well as court and legal documents, as we know, the scribes go all the way back to ancient Egypt, were the first to keep deposits for the express purpose of relending them. Merchants and traders had amassed huge hoards of gold and entrusted their wealth to the royal mint for storage. In 1640, King Charles I seized the private gold stored in the mint as a forced loan, which was to be paid back over time. Thereafter, merchants preferred to store their gold with the goldsmiths of London, who possessed private vaults, and charged a fee for that service. In exchange for each deposit of precious metal, the goldsmiths issued receipts certifying the quantity and purity of the metal they held as a bailee, basically in trust. These receipts cannot be assigned. Only the original depositor could collect the stored goods. Gradually, the goldsmiths took over the function of the scriveneers, the scribes, of relending on behalf of a depositor, and also developed modern banking practices, i.e., which are promissory notes. Promissory notes were issued for money deposited, which by custom and or law was a loan to the goldsmith, i.e., the depositor expressly allowed the goldsmith to use the money for any purpose, including advances to his customers. The goldsmith charged no fee and might even pay interest on these deposits. Since the promissory notes were payable on demand and the advances or loans to the goldsmith's customers were repayable over a longer time period, this was an early form of fractional reserve banking. The promissory notes developed into an assignable instrument which could circulate as a safe and convenient form of money backed by the goldsmith's promise to pay. Hence, goldsmiths could advance loans in the form of gold money, or in the form of promissory notes, or in the form of checking accounts. Gold deposits were relatively stable, often remaining with the goldsmith for years on end, so there was little risk of default so long as public trust in the goldsmith's integrity and financial soundness was maintained. Thus, the goldsmiths of London became the forerunners of British banking and prominent creators of new money based on credit. So they did kind of pretty it up here from this reference point. It did make it sound all romantic, and they romanticize the perception here. Nonetheless, it still gives us some insight into where the concept of today's banking comes from, especially fractional reserve banking versus full reserve banking, which we possibly get into that during the banking section of this monetary series. But this also gets into civics, those private contracts that we talked about versus public contract. And a lot of this extends from that series also as well. So if you go back and you come up to what we're talking about now, you can get a fundamental and grounded understanding of what we're talking about. And a lot of people, listen to these people on TikTok and things like that. But this is more so text-based information that we're talking about, especially the references that you can refer to, like modern money mechanics and other things that are out there that you can use from an academia standpoint when it comes to these things. And the economic series that we talked about, that also helps to as well. And these series are very, very much needed because it's one thing to get on stage and pull a verse out the scripture and say, well, like Moses walked around in circles for 40 years, or this prophet, he wasn't up to par, that prophet wasn't up to par, but God still chose them, and make a metaphorical lecture or sermon about that to create some good sensationalism for people throughout the week and motivate them, things like that. And that's also what we're here to do. We're here to motivate, but more or less with less sensationalism involved. So when it comes to the knowledge, which is what you're supposed to be gathering around a prophet, a bishop, an apostle, etc., and a lot of these things, that is so you can get the theological understanding of your community. Understand the faith. Understand the reason why the faith is there and the energy is put forward to accomplish these interpretable things, these things of positive nature, more so than a lot of the shadowy stuff that comes through the shadow streams of the mind. So this next section, continuing on, this next section is called First European Banknotes. So of course they want to highlight Europe, of course. We're dealing with Eurocentric information, so of course we're going to highlight Europe first. But this section states the first European banknotes were issued by Stockholm's Banco, a predecessor of Sweden's central bank called Sveriges Riksbank. Sveriges Riksbank, or simply Riksbank, is the central bank of Sweden. It's the world's oldest surviving central bank and the third oldest bank in operation. And this is located in Stockholm, Sweden. Berkersborgstor, I guess that's the city. And it was preceded by Stockholm's Banco and Riksson Standardsbank in 1668. So this bank goes back for some time. But we want to verify these things. We want to be able to verify it. Don't believe me. Check it out. Do the verification of how long this bank has been around. We know there's been banks that go all the way back to the Islamic days, as we can see. So it might not be the oldest bank, as we just got other contrarian information about the Islamic influence and them creating banking institutions and financial institutions. So we want to look into these things. All right, so continuing on, it says these replace the copper plates being used instead as a means of payment. Although in 1664 the bank ran out of coins to redeem notes and ceased operating in the same year. Inspired by the success of London goldsmiths, some of whom became the forerunners of great English banks began issuing paper notes, quite properly termed banknotes, which circulated in the same way that government-issued currency circulates today. In England, this practice continued up to 1694. Scottish banks continued issuing notes until 1850 and still do issue banknotes backed by Bank of England notes. In the United States, this practice continued through the 19th century. At one time, there were more than 5,000 different types of banknotes issued by various commercial banks in America. Only the notes issued by the largest, most creditworthy banks were widely accepted. The script of smaller, lesser-known institutions circulated locally. Farther from home, it was only accepted at a discounted rate, if at all. The proliferation of types of money went hand in hand with a multiplication in the number of financial institutions. These banknotes were a form of representative money which could be converted into gold or silver by application at the bank. Since banks issued notes far in excess of the gold and silver they kept on deposit, sudden loss of public confidence in a bank could precipitate mass redemption of banknotes and result in bankruptcy. In India, the earliest paper money was issued by Bank of Hindustan, which is from 1770 to 1832. General Bank of Bengal in Bihar in 1773 through 1775, and Bengal Bank from 1784 through 1791. The use of banknotes issued by private commercial banks as legal tender has gradually been replaced by the issuance of banknotes authorized and controlled by national governments. The Bank of England was granted sole rights to issue banknotes in England after 1694. In the United States, the Federal Reserve Bank was granted similar rights after its establishment in 1913. Until recently, these government-authorized currencies were forms of representative money, since they were partially backed by gold or silver and were theoretically convertible into gold or silver. So this last part, we're gonna close it out here, at least from this reference standpoint, and this will prepare us to get into our banking section next week, because we're still gonna go through the other links as well before we jump right into that banking section here. But this is bringing us more into the present from 1970. So the banknotes started happening, and as I mentioned, Asia was some of the pioneers of that, as well as also if you go back to ancient Sumeria and things like that. This is actually where they got the banknote concept from and the idea from. So there's nothing new under the sun, vanity of vanities, as we know. So this is why, as I mentioned just earlier, the prophet wanted us to understand the gospel, wanted us to understand the old time religion, because religion is what creates your commerce, your economics. It gives you the principles, it gives you the philosophy behind these things. So the abundance mindset, the money-making mindset, the trade concept, being a merchant, being a person who creates their own crafts, things like that. This is where the faith behind it comes from. This is where the push behind it comes from, especially those that have genuine artistic perspectives that vary, very unique from one another for producing their craft. And that gets into a whole nother boatload of things like the guild system, the craft, and many other things that came along with what we have today. For even the craft of being a leader, being a speaker, being behind the pulpit and teaching as a rabbi, as a minister, etc. There's an artistic way to go about doing such. And especially more so today, when you have everybody gunning for your attention, whether it's the news media, whether it's sports, radio, the list goes on. So the focal here for us is to get the knowledge, put the knowledge out there. That way, we as a people could have the proper fundamental understanding of these things. So that way, we won't be fooled when we get approached by just from other sects of thinking, and the splinter groups and just the branches of thought that come off of those things. So we're gonna get into this next section here, and like I said, we're gonna close out with this particular reference point, and also add a little bit from this last point here being made on how we ourselves from Branch Temple number 24 have created a lot of things and participated in a lot of these things ourselves, and been establishing our own banking system and putting in the work behind that. So the next section we're about to jump into is called 1972 present to the present, and it states, in 1971, United States President Richard Nixon announced that the U.S. dollar would not be directly convertible to gold anymore. This measure effectively destroyed the Bretton Woods system by removing one of its key components, and what came to be known as the Nixon shock. Since then, the United States dollar, the US dollar, and thus all national currencies are free-floating currencies. Additionally, international, national, and local money is now denominated by virtual credit rather than real bullion. So that changed a lot, and those incidents that happened during that time really created a stir in the market and a stir to the people, especially the legal system that was previously in place during that time. A lot changed because of that, especially the way we conduct ourselves in business and operate in trust and estate planning and a lot of other things that shock really created, that came out of that shock. So this next section is called payment cards. And it states, in the late 20th century, payment cards such as credit cards and debit cards became the dominant mode of consumer payment in the first world. The Bank AmeriCard, launched in 1958, became the first third-party credit card to acquire widespread use and to be accepted in shops and stores all over the United States, soon followed by MasterCard and American Express. Since 1980, credit card companies have been exempt from state usury laws in the United States, and so can charge any interest rate they see fit. Outside America, other payment cards became more popular than credit cards, such as France Cartel Blue. So you had other credit cards that were created across the world as well. So just to give you insight, the concept of the first world was originally one of the three worlds formed by the global political landscape of the Cold War. As it was grouped together, those countries that were aligned with the Western Bloc of the United States, this grouping was directly opposed to the Second World, which similarly grouped together those countries that were aligned with the Eastern Bloc of the Soviet Union. However, as the Cold War ended with the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991, the definition largely shifted to instead refer to any country that boasts a well-functioning democratic system with little prospects of political risk, in addition to a strong rule of law, a capitalist economy with economic stability, and a high standard of living. So the first world in colloquial understanding typically refers to the highly developed industrialized nations, often considered the westernized countries of the world. So the first world would be countries that are aligned with the Western Bloc, NATO, and their allies, and is led by the United States. And then you have the second world, which is countries that are aligned with the Eastern Bloc, in the Warsaw Pact, and that could be through the Warsaw Pact, China and its allies, and is led by the Soviet Union. And then you have the third world, which is the non-aligned movement, and that's led by India and Yugoslavia and other neutral countries. So the non-aligned movement is a form of 120 countries that are not formally aligned with or against any major power bloc. A power bloc is considered it's considered as the concept of political power. So that gets into power as a goal of the state to its leaders, power as a measure of influence and control, power as victory and conflicts and security or secured arms, basically. Power is control over resources and capabilities such as technological, and even arms. Power as status, which some states or actors possess and others do not. And that's mainly based on the other points that I just mentioned. So, you have the NATO, North American Trade Organization. Then you have the Warsaw Pact, which is formerly called the Treaty of Friendship, Cooperation, and Mutual Assistance. And that was between the Soviet Union and other Eastern powers and socialist republics, which China was mainly one of them. So this takes you back to what happened in World War I and some of the things that we discussed here before about that. But that gets intertwined also with the money and how things operate today. So this next section is called digital currency, and it states the development of computer technology in the second part of the 20th century allowed money to be represented digitally. By 1990 in the United States, all money transferred between its central bank and commercial banks was in electronic form. By the 2000s, most money existed as digital currency in banks' databases. In 2012, by number of transactions, 20 to 58% of transactions were electronic, dependent on the country. The benefit of digital currency is that it allows for easier, faster, and more flexible payments. So, understanding that portion, that gets more into what happened after 1970, right? And we're moving into a more digital economy. And even today, you have talks about a digital dollar and things like that again, and we already been digital. So this helps give you that fundamental perspective and kind of bring you back into the real world knowledge of things. So this next section is called cryptocurrencies, which a lot of people get excited about. So this is one of those things that causes a lot of controversy today, or as people call it, disruption. And this section states, in 2008, Bitcoin was proposed by an unknown author or authors under the pseudonym of Satoshi Nakamoto. It was implemented the same year. Its use of cryptography allowed the currency to have a trustless, non-fungible, and tamper-resistant distributed ledger called a blockchain. It became the first widely used decentralized peer-to-peer cryptocurrency. Other comparable systems had been proposed since the 1980s. The protocol proposed by Nakamoto solved what is known as the double spending problem without the need of a trusted third party. Since Bitcoin's inception, thousands of other cryptocurrencies have been introduced. So, Bitcoin basically opened the floodgates for what us crypto punks typically consider shit coins, excuse my French, but it is what it is. And with that, I'll just tag on what we've been doing through our projects of Branch Temple number 24, the Moorish Temple of America, and our news project or Noon project, with establishing a project of projects of things that need to be done. Thus, the tallies became an accepted medium of exchange for some types of transactions and an accepted store of value. Like the gyro banks before it, the Treasury soon realized that it could also issue tallies that were not backed by any specific assessment of taxes. By doing so, the Treasury created new money that was backed by public trust and confidence in the monarchy, rather than by specific revenue receipts. So we know what he got this concept from also as well, going back to the Ashango bone from ancient Africa. So a lot of the things that was done by the Europeans, by the Asiatics, a lot of these things originated out of Africa as well. And that dominion between the progenitor Moors and those Moors that descended from them, when the Moors linked up with the Amorites and things like that, and a lot more people started mixing and just mingling together, and a lot of the bloodlines became kind of mixed up. So we're gonna end it right there. I hope that was great detail for you all from what we've been giving information on here in this monetary series and the things that we've been touching on, and we'll continue to touch on. So with that, we're gonna reset the room real quick. Welcome to Branch Temple number 24 of the Moorish Science Temple of America. We are a global branch temple of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and we're teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may learn to love instead of hate. Come link yourself with the family of nations by clicking that block of words at the top that says World Temple, and join us for Friday Holy Day sermon, Coopers, and also on Sundays for our Sunday newcomers gathering. And we're gonna jump right into our new current events. The same thing that happened that I mentioned last week. We definitely still pushing toward the monetization, having to go through some appeals and things like that with them right now at the moment, and get down to the bottom of what we need to do to monetize our YouTube channel, and also working on our websites here again, get them back up and running, see what's going on with our websites. Like I said, we have some technical difficulties and some issues with that, so we're going to get that back up and running. And we also been working on donors and donations. As I've been mentioning over the past couple of months, me and Brother Rahim been working on some things in the background here as we continue to go along and build up the project that we have for the world currency and also our global independent school district. So with that, we're going to jump into our weekly reading from El's Holy Qur'an. And we're going to pick up where we left off 2 weeks ago. Probably going to read just a section here, and we're going to continue on from there next week. Hope the weather is okay where y'all are at. I know currently today at the moment of this recording, we is definitely pouring down. So let's go ahead and jump into this week's reading. All right, so we're going to pick up from where we left off 2 weeks ago. So we're just going to read this quick section here. We're going to close it out there. In this section of El Holy Quran, chapter 41, called the Secret, states, if he does take other sources, he will be clearly astray. He is going to enter Al-Jannat. Elohim didn't send any more ones sent after him. They were struck dead. They will be brought forth in the Anunnaki's possession.
And the ayahs read, surely I, if I did, verily I was clearly astray into error. Surely I have faith in your Rob, sustainer. So listen to me. It was said, you are to enter the Jannat garden. He said, only if my kindred knew of that which he, my Rob, has forgiven me. And he has made me of the Mukrameen, generous ones. And we not I, Elohim, did not send on his calm kindred from after him any armies from the skies, Anunnakis from other planets beyond the sun. And we were not Muzalim, one sent down. Some are born here. Surely there was except one, Sahat, loud cry, so as if they were struck dead. Oh, grief on the slaves that which is to come to them from the Rasul, one sent, except they were ridiculing him. Didn't they see how we, Elohim Anunnaki, have destroyed Al-Qaru, the generations before them? Surely they will not return unto them. And if all will be gathered together, they are brought forth in our, not my possession. All right, so we're going to stop there. So this is pretty much just another reminder of, hey, didn't we give y'all this warning for the last generation? And y'all didn't pay attention to what happened to them? We didn't do what we did last time, but we most definitely gave y'all a warning about what happened to previous generation. So that's exactly kind of what we're getting into here with the monetary policy in the monetary series. We're getting into what happened in the past during the ancient times and how we are the pioneers of the currencies and the economic systems that you see today. So with that, we're going to jump right into our holy instructions. Kind of keep the holy instructions a little short this week. So I'm change the link at the top of the room. And we're going to touch on these holy instructions. Islam. And then we're going to close out with our mandatory literature for tonight. Islam. So you don't know how we do. Friday is the holy day, oh you who know. When the call is proclaimed to supplication on Friday, the day of assembly, hasten earnestly to the remembrance of the Heavenly Father and Divine Mother, and leave all business and traffic. That is best for you if you but knew. And when prayer is finished, then may you disperse through the land and seek the bounty of God and celebrate the praises of God without stint, that ye may prosper. All right, so all chaplaincy and temple services, they ought to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is the holy day of rest because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God of love. So, for that reason, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims and peacemakers all over the world. And this is according to Act 2 of the Divine Constitution and Bylaws by the Prophet of Ali. So, we're going to touch on some few things here. We know that those templars, adepts, and civilians attending holy day service, you must have your heads covered with either a turban, fez, or kufi, or spiritual covering. Baseball caps should not be worn in the temple or during temple service. The Sunday temple service and meeting is mandatory, and all Moorish nationals, temple denizens must promptly attend the temple service and send their children to the Sunday school gatherings. So this is a perfect time for you to get, with your children and really have that one-on-one time for yourself and your children is mandatory. Islam. So, for those that are looking to become members of the Moorish Temple of America, you have your heads of your temple, of any temple jurisdiction. So, wherever in temple you're at, they're not to charge for naturalization or to overcharge for cards, buttons, or anything issued by you through the prophet. Just make sure you keep that in mind. Those that are contributing to any of those type of things are not moral civilians or patrons, but they are robbers. Simple and plain. Temple nationality and membership in the Holy Temple's vast estate, what we call a public beneficiary trust, sisters and brothers, kin and kinfolk, is free, not only here, but all over the world. So, all kin and kinfolk designed to become a civilian of a subordinate temple must follow the instructions from their temple secretary and acquire the application for naturalization with your temple secretary. So we're going to go over our Holy Shahada, the procedure of nationality procedure. One's nationality will be held on Holy Day for all civilians, denizens, templars, peacemakers, and Muslims all over the world. During the ceremony, the new civilian or templars will be ordained to El Bay and given his or her royal peer's title of kin, honorable lady, noble, men, naya, prince, or princess, by a grand sheik and or divine minister, and receive his or her nationality card and button from the divine minister of the Grand Major Temple. Upon conclusion of the nationality proclamation, the Grand Sheik and Divine Minister will have the civilian, templars, or temple prospect stand while he or she reads the authority of the Moorish Temple of America. And you can look into the Religious Corporation Act document that can be found in Hers Revised Statutes that gives the Moorish Temple of America, Asia, and Africa the authority to restore the nationality and birthrights of the lost Asiatics of America, Asia, Africa, and all world islands. So with that, y'all, we're going to jump into our holy... We're going to jump into our mandatory literature for tonight, and we're going to take it on home. I know we've started a little bit earlier on our holy day, so that means some people might not even get the message or be able to attend at the time, because we definitely started a whole hour early. So that means we might be ending a whole hour early at least 6, 7, 8 o'clock between that time. So we want to make sure you guys are getting adjusted to the schedule change, because I definitely had to myself. So with that, we're going to jump into the mandatory literature from the prophet, and we're going to close it out for this week. Islam. Islam. So we're going to jump into these mandatory messages from the prophet. This is to be proclaimed in all temple meetings and temple service. The prophet say, Islam, I'm glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There's a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claim that I was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they're working every scheme that they can to disqualify me, so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and the uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me will be remembered. That is why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your Moorish, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance and I need it badly. Now, before I need finance so badly as I do at present, so I can serve aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without me, the prophet, being here. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet Lawiy Islam. So we're gonna close it out, y'all, tonight with the Moorish prayer. Hope y'all are enjoying time with your family. Islam. Islam. So we're going to close out with the Moorish prayer. If I can get it to pull up. We're doing all kinds of stuff. Alright, so y'all know how it go, facing the east, feet at a 45-degree angles, 2 fingers up, 5 fingers up. Alright. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector and my guide by night and by day. Through His holy prophet, Zabuwr. Amen. Alright, y'all. We're going to close it out for tonight because I'm also having technical difficulties on my phone. So with that, hope y'all enjoy the rest of y'all weekend with your family. True peace. Islam. Wadu.
And getting underway, at least laying down the fundamental foundation and infrastructure so the next generations our next generation can take up the work for the things at hand. So this is why it's important that we definitely, well, I feel and we feel with Branch Temple number 24 that we record these meetings and these temple services because we're laying down the groundwork for what needs to be continued on. And as we continue to build and grow, this work will continue on to the next generation. So we have established a lot of things. We talked about the family office here plenty of times, about getting into a lot of the data behind things when it comes to the market, getting our people to get into understanding the markets, get into the financial literacy of things, just, understanding the math. Even if you don't look at it from just a more so right-brained, there's still a lot of left-brained things that you can get into In the financial space, it doesn't all necessarily have to be right-brained things where you're just dealing with math and logicism and things of that matter. But we definitely want to continue on that work and the things that we have been establishing, from the Nomni, the Moor coin, Moor cash, the dollar cash, the Larium, those currencies that we issue from the World Treasury, those private coins that we issue through the World Treasury. We have a lot of private coins from the glue note that we issued for a African kingdom over there in Africa, and just many other projects that we have on our side as a private, a private arrangement, a private agreement, and also things that we do in the public. So we definitely have been participating and taking our part in establishing banknotes, even Bitcoin-based insurance, Bitcoin insurance smart contracts, and just so much more that'll be coming with that. But we definitely have been creating a lot of our own, smart contract banknotes through Bitcoin, smart contract insurance, smart contract trust, bonds, notes, etc. So it gets into that representative currency, and we ourselves have been a part of the Bitcoin unfoldment as it continues on here, and there's a lot that we have coming, especially with Nomni being the lead coin for the Nucratic Society and our projects and the things that we have going on. Do we have a lot of catching up to do? Yeah, we do. Do we have competition? I would say, yeah, we do. Is there room to get better? Most definitely. And is more room for creativity too, as well, for our people to come in and be creative and establish things. But we most definitely through our family office and Global Trust Association have established a precedent, not just through Bitcoin, but also through what they call local currencies, time banking, and mutual credit systems. We definitely have been working with the most popular one just as well. We've worked with the most popular cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, the CES, the Community Exchange System, and establishing an exchange system for the different layers of our monetary system that we have been getting into. So that means we have a measurement, a macroeconomic measurement of our monetary supply and the different layers of that and different exchanges in consideration for that. So there's a community within the community within the community within the community for exchanging, and especially establishing a professional market for these things. So there's a lot that we've been dipping into, and it's all denominated in the same currency of the Nomni, and operating through the Nomni, and a way for us to do our bookkeeping through what we call Nomni, which means Nucratic Open Market Nibiru Index. And that index is similar to its predecessor, which is the dollar. And you have the dollar index. And so there's a lot of work that we got to do, especially establishing companies and just, boots on the ground work. But everything that we've touched on so far about understanding the monetary portion of what needs to be done, that is basically a subsection of understanding economics, and then we go get into banking, which is a subsection of just understanding money and economics itself. And hope this leads everyone to getting into just doing their own research and participating in the conversation and doing it from our own lens. We have our own, philosophy and way of looking at things. So our next step here is to make that a household name and term. we still got some things that we need to take care of and get done, but we definitely are building towards creating a household name. So with that, I want to go ahead and prepare us to get into our next segment here. So we can get into our next segment of things. But I do want to close us out with some literature from the prophet. Because this is a part of being industrial and the things the prophet told us that we need to get into. So I'm going to read this literature from the prophet called The Industrious Acts of the Muslims. So that way that'll further just enhance the point of this entire series. But the prophet states, the industrial acts of the Muslim of Northwest and Southwest Africa, these are the Moabites, the Hamathites, Canaanites, who were driven out of the land of Canaan by Joshua and received permission of the pharaohs of Egypt to settle in that portion of Egypt. In later years, they formed themselves kingdoms. These kingdoms are called this day Morocco, Algiers, Tunis, Tripoli, etc. They originated the beauties of the Alhambra, and to an unpracticed eye, the light reliefs and fanciful arabesques, which covers the walls of the Alhambra, appears to have been sculpted by the hand. With immense and patient labor and inexhaustible variety of detail, yet a general uniformity and harmony of design truly astonishing. And this may especially be said of the vaults and cupolas, which are rough like honeycombs or frostwork with stalactites, and pendants, which confound the beholder with the seeming intricacy of their patterns. The astonishment ceases, however, when it is discovered that this is all stucco work, plates of plaster of Paris cast and molds and skillfully joined so as to form patterns of every size and form. This mode of disappearing walls with arabesques and stuccoing the vaults with grotto work was invented in Damascus, but highly improved by the Moors in Morocco, to whom Saracen architecture owes its most graceful and fanciful details. The process by which all of this fairy tracery was produced was ingeniously simple. The walls in their naked state were divided off by lines crossing at right angles, such as artists use in copying a picture. Over these were drawing a succession of interesting regiments of circles. By the aid of these, the artist could work with celerity and certainty, and from the mere intersection of their plane and curved lines arose the interminable variety of patterns and the general uniformity of their character. Much gliding was used in the stucco work, especially of the cupolas, and the interstices were delicately penciled with brilliant colors, such as vermilion and lapis lazuli, laid on with the whites of egg. The primitive colors alone were used, says forward, by the Egyptians, Greeks, and Arabs in the early period of art, and they prevail in the Alhambra wherever the artist has been Arabic or Moorish. It is remarkable how much of their original brilliancy remains after the lapse of several centuries. The lower part of the walls and the saloons, to the height of several feet, is encrusted with glazed tiles, joined like the plates of stucco work, so as to form various patterns. On some of these are emblazoned the escuans of the Muslim kings,
traversed with a band and motto. These glazed titles, azulejos in Spanish, azuleja in Arabic, are of Oriental origin. Their coolness, cleanliness, and freedom from vermin render them admirably fitted in sultry climates for paving halls and fountains, encrusting bathing rooms and lining the walls of chambers. Ford is inclined to give them great antiquity. From their prevailing colors, sapphire and blue, he deduces that they may have formed the kind of pavements alluded to in the sacred scriptures. There were under his feet, as it were, a paved work of sapphire stone. In Exodus, again and again, behold, I will lay the stone. As this is a verse coming from Exodus. I think this is Exodus 24, verse 10. And it says, "Behold, I will lay thy stones with the fairy colors, and lay their foundations with sapphires." This next one is coming from Isaiah, I think this is Isaiah the 4th, verse 2, and it states, "These glazed or porcelain tiles were introduced into Spain." I think that's Isaiah, I'm not sure. But this next part says, "These glazed or porcelain tiles were introduced into Spain at an early date by the Muslims. Some are to be seen among the Moorish ruins, have been there upwards of 8 centuries. Manufacturers of them still exist in the peninsula, and they are much used in the Spanish houses, especially in the southern provinces for paving and lining the summer apartments. The Spaniards introduced them into the Netherlands when they had possession of that country. The people of Holland adopted them with avidity as wonderfully suited to their passion for household cleanliness, and thus these Oriental inventions, the azulejas of the Spaniards, the azuleja if the Arabs, have come to be commonly known as Dutch tiles by Professor Drew, the Egyptian prophet. So with this section, the prophet is saying that the industrial acts that we have done as Moorish people, there's pretty much nothing like it. And we took work that came from our previous ancestors, whether it been in Damascus, Egypt, or elsewhere, we continue that forward. So when it comes to finances and economics, the same thing applies here. So with that, we're gonna close out tonight's Cooper. We're gonna jump into our next section with our current events. So we're gonna get into our current events here in a second, and we're gonna get started with any updates that we have and things like that, and our weekly reading from El Holy Qur'aan. Islam, true peace. Give me a second. All right, y'all. So we're gonna
do this quick reset. Welcome to Branch Temple number 24 of the Moorish Science Temple of America. We are a global branch temple of the Moorish Science Temple of America, where we teach our people their nationality and their divine creed. Come and link yourself with the family of nations by clicking that block of words at the top that says World Temple. Join us here on Clubhouse, or if you're listening from another platform, you can find us on Clubhouse by searching World Temple. We should pop up with the holy keys, and you should see the crown and the keys and our Nubian rendition of it for the holy keys. So with that, we're gonna jump right into our updates. We still working toward the monetization with YouTube and also the website, just trying to prepare for that and what we want to call it, the site, and just continuing on with possibly, if not bringing back the same website, possibly starting fresh. But with that, we know there's been a lot of things going on in the media, not necessarily political, but most definitely with the social world, things that's been going on with P. Diddy. A lot of stuff been catching up with Puff Daddy here, but the things that's been happening in Israel with the Hamza and Israel, a lot of, just like anything else in the news media, a lot of things just come and go, and they lose the potency of keeping people's attention. So, of course, those things have come and pass. But you also have the SEC. They are still targeting and going after these cryptocurrency exchanges. And most recently, Jamie Dimon has just, gave some bad news on, not bad news, but just gave a more of a, what we consider a bearish statement about Bitcoin. And in some people's eyes, that could be a bullish. So, yeah, but nonetheless, he made a negative remark about Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency platforms. So if you haven't heard about that, you might want to look into that as well. But just mainly things that have stuck out over the past couple of weeks, and pretty much it. Seen a couple of things about Pope Francis and things they have going on. They created a World Children Day, I think, which is a little sus, especially coming from the Catholic Church. But if y'all can just look into that, because that is definitely a little sus. I see it as a little sus. Not sure, but especially when it comes to the Catholics and anything dealing with children. But nevertheless, we're gonna jump right into our weekly readings here for this week and prepare for us to close out Islam. So we're gonna open up with El's Holy Quran and read our next section here. And we are starting a little bit early, so just also be aware of that as well. We are starting an hour early until I can get Clubhouse to fix that. Then we'll be back at our regular time. Not sure why it moved our time to 6 o'clock for some reason, but I'm gonna definitely work on that as well. But with that, we're gonna jump right into our weekly reading of El's Holy Quran. just read a little section here, and pretty much go into our closing for tonight. I may not go over the holy instructions because you all could go back and listen to the replays for that to really check out how to get involved and join the Moorish Blood of America. We're just gonna close out here tonight with our mandatory readings since it's just me, and we're gonna close out from there. So this next section, commentary states, life given to the dead are by the Elohim. They made in it Jannat of palms and grapes and sources of water. Glory be to he who created the mates. Elohim removed daylight as a sign. From the shadow hour, the sun has an appointed term, and the Qamar has phases, which is the moon. And it is not possible for the sun and the moon to be seen together. Their offspring will be carried in a craft. Elohim can drown them if he pleases. They turned away from the signs of their Rab. They don't want to share willingly of that which the source has provided them. So this is chapter 41, ayat 33, and we just read the commentary for that section, and it states, and a sign for them, the dead planet Earth, Kui, also called Tiamat and Al-Ard, we not he, the Elohim, the Anunnaki Elohim, revived it, removed the black dust cloud, and we not I, brought forth from it Haban, seed, so from it they can eat. And we not I, Elohim, Anunnaki Elohim, Ashnan, made in it Jannat, gardens, from Nakalim, palms, and Al-Nabin, grapes. And we, Elohim Anunnaki, gushed forth in it from sources of water, springs. For they eat from its fruit, which their hands did not make. So they will not be grateful. Glory be to he, a Yahuwah, Inky, named Nudimu, who created Al-Azwaj, the mates, Zakar and Nekeba, for all of them, of that which Al-Ard, the planet Kui, or Tiamat, earth brings forth, and from that which they themselves don't know. A sign for them is what we, Elohim Anunnaki, remove the daylight from the shadow hour period, and they are Mudalimun, ones left in error. And this is referring to the black dust cloud that was blocking the sun. And the Shams, the sun, has an appointed term, which is determined by Al-Aziz, the mighty. And it's talking about the 365-day orbit. And the Qamar, the moon, we determine for its phases until it becomes an old dry stalk bent. And it's talking about the crescent, like a crescent, the 29 days and a half to 30 days. That's what it's making reference to right there. So this next ayah states, it is not possible for the sun and moon to catch up with each other and be seen together, nor the love shadow hour period to precede al-Nahar, the day, and each is in its own orbit, in his glory and his glorious sphere. You can't have a solar and lunar eclipse. And a sign for them is that we not he, Elohim Anunnaki, held Dariyatuum, their offspring, in the loaded fork, craft. And we not he, Elohim Anunnaki, Kalakna, created for them from its likeness of the crafts, that which they will ride. And surely we not he, Elohim Anunnaki, will drown them if we please. So there will be no screaming for them, and they will not be saved, except a Ramatan, yielding mercy from us, not mine, and a temporary provision for a time. And when it was said to them, tremble and fear,
that which is between your hands and that which is in back of you, perhaps for you, you will be Tarhamun, showing a yielding mercy. And a sign didn't come to them from the signs of their Ra, who is sustainer, except they were ones who have turned away from it. And when it was said to them, you share willingly from that which the source, Allah, has provided you. Those who conceal that which they know to be facts said to those who are faithful, we only feed whom Allah pleases to feed. Surely you all are clearly straying into error. And they say, when is this promise? Surely if you were Zodokites or Zodokim, truthful, they don't look except a single loud cry which overtook them, and they are disputing. So they will not be able to make a recommendation, and they will not be returning to Allahim, their family. Islam. So that section carries a very, very impactful point here. It's talking about that book of Genesis portion as well as the Enuma Elish portion. So it's kind of bouncing back and forth between what was called El Suhuf, the peer pages, and the Enuma Elish or Atra Hasis, and those cuneiform tablets or Sumerian tablets. So it really speaks to the history of what we're dealing with now. The sign, the only sign they wasn't given a sign is saying at this point the only sign that they was given is that they would turn away. And we can see that today, especially with the economics thing, and us as a people, especially as a Moorish people, we've been duped, as the prophets say. We forgot who we were, and that's affecting the next generation, and it's continuing on for generations, especially forgetting our portion and contribution to economics and monetary policy and how we affect it as a whole. So just understanding that that we losing touch with our families today, and these things that have been called signs, they're popping up right in front of our faces, especially with the moon and being able to walk outside during the daytime and you see the moon up at the same time you see the sun and things like that. So we're gonna jump right into our mandatory. Hope y'all enjoy y'all Friday, the rest of y'all Friday with your family and friends. We're gonna read the warning from the prophet that he wants us to read in every temple meeting and temple service. Prophet said, I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We're for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your card at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We're for love, true peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the laws laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where our prophet found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Zabuwr, and if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet therefore is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. True peace, Zabuwr. Islam. So we know who's the greatest. Allah is the greatest. We're gonna close it out with this last Message from the prophet, last warning from the prophet. Islam. The prophet say, I'm glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There's a host of jealousy about me and the movement, now by the same people of outside of the nation that claim that I was only a joke and unreal. But now since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation, as American citizens, they're working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That's why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance and I need it badly. Never before I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without me, the prophet, being it. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet Noble Joali, Islam. So yeah, the prophet was definitely dealing with a lot of jealousy at the time. If you want to make a contribution to us, you can click the link that's pinned at the top of the room. Join our YouTube page there for this branch temple. You just get access to a boatload of information. We have motivational lectures from different speakers, educational, spiritual, also meditation sessions on there as well, in case you would like to meditate, and just a boatload of things that are coming as well that we're going to be adding to the channel and getting into here as we continue to embark on this spiritual journey and path. But you can click on the link that's pinned at the top, go to one of our videos, and then you'll have access to making a donation. If you want to send any donations, whether it's through Bitcoin or become an active member in the royal court and be an active member in our royal audience, you can do so through there. With that, I'm gonna jump off here and close us out with our Moorish prayer. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your Friday. For those that will be listening to the replay or all that are listening to the replay, yeah, just be aware that we are starting an hour early. So you want to make sure that you adjust your time to that. Or, just be cautious that we are here an hour early. And I know that's, kind of conflicting with a lot of people's schedule. But with that, we're going to close out. So y'all know how it goes. 2 fingers up, 5 fingers up, feet at a 45-degree angle, facing the east. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, by night, and my salvation by night and by day, through His holy prophet, Noble Joali. Amen. True peace, y'all. Why do?